The devil himself said, I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
She knows that Jesus watches over her. He helped save her life. In response, Jeffrey Epstein says, you should dress up as him when you see her.
So we see this darkness. It involves leaders in academia, in science, in industry, in politics.
Another just insane detail that has emerged here is that Lawrence Krauss was trying to get Epstein and Rogan to meet together.
Yeah, I'm in the files for not going. Jeffrey Epstein was trying to meet with me.
It's hard to come up with a language to express what we're observing in the world other than the language of theology.
I hadn't seen any real evidence for it until these files. And now I'm like, oh, this is demonic. This is clearly demonic.
To people who have been on the train of world's run by satanic files and like that, well, now you're seeing some of it.
The question is not good or bad. The question is what's natural.
There's definitely a parental advisory on this video. If you're watching this with your children, I do not recommend that you do that. I want to warn you because I know a lot of the content on this channel is family friendly. This video will not be family friendly.
Weinstein's decades-long chain of alleged harassment was a dirty Hollywood secret.
I can tell you that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia.
Nobody talks about pedophilia.
It's the big secret.
And it's widespread?
Oh yeah. I was surrounded by them. They would pull away the better-looking younger kids and keep them for their own after party, and it would turn into a pool party. And then they'd have their rules. Oh, there's no swimsuits on in the pool.
In a new interview with the Sunday Times, the former child star alleges that pedophilia has been a real issue in Hollywood. He tells the publication, quote, there are a lot of vipers in this industry, people who only have their own interests in mind. What bums me about these situations is that the victims can't speak as loudly as the people in power.
And it's not just Hollywood, it's also the music industry. You've got people like P. Diddy, who obviously everyone now knows about that.
Jay-Z, Diddy, and others, primarily Jay-Z. Jay-Z is my top one. I was asked why don't I like Jay-Z, and on my list was the fact that when I was 16, I heard him put out a song, or I guess the song was already out, I don't know, saying 666, unalive Jesus, like what? After that, he called himself Ove, a disrespect to Jehovah. He then opened a museum about himself, mimicking the pages of the Bible, then created a movie disrespecting Jesus again, like he's like Jesus' biggest hater. Okay, he's been demonic since forever. Made a movie about Jesus being a magician and not really the Son of God. And I can go on.
It's all a joke. We're just having fun. It's art. It's comedy. It's entertainment. There's nothing to see here.
Jay-Z was also implicated after being present during an abduction of a victim, where the victim was assaulted by Harvey Weinstein while Jay-Z watched it happen. The account says later awoke in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, Jay-Z, while Weinstein had inserted his fingers into the victim. After this point in the account, the document describes the individual regaining consciousness in a room with multiple high-profile figures present.
I was 14 and he put that song out about unaliving Jesus, like he's been demonic.
I mean, Jay-Z even created merch that says, do what thou wilt across the chest, which references Aleister Crowley. So it's not that hidden. You also have people like Cat Williams, who was ringing the bell about this over a year ago.
There are spiritual things going on in the world. There are things that are bigger than just coincidence, and a ritual is something that you do over and over and over again a certain way.
And then more recently, you have really weird instances like this one where Roseanne Barr is talking to Tucker Carlson, of all people, and she says this.
And they're just trying to protect themselves, because when that list comes out and all the other stuff is declassed, it's going to be like worse than the emperor naked. It's going to be the emperor went to Epstein Island and ate people. And they do that. Babies, that is not... It's true.
So it's not just the dogs and the cats, not just the pets.
It's not just the dogs and the cats. They're full-on vampires. And everybody still thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. They're full-on vampires. They love the taste of human flesh and they drink human blood. They do, Tucker. Stop staring at me like that.
You're freaking me out, man.
Because you spent your life in the entertainment business, so I think you have some authority on this.
Please wake up, even those who are pretending to be asleep, with the irrefutable truth of what the worst people on this planet are really up to. They are really up to that.
And listen to their response to this at the time.
Bro, take your medicine. Look, I don't know how many of you guys have experience with this, but it's a very, very common thing. Somebody who has a severe psychological issue, like severe bipolar disorder or paranoid schizophrenia, one of the really bad ones, usually they really hate taking their medicine because they say it takes away the thing that makes them feel special.
But now listen to some of the things that are being said post this most recent Epstein files drop, and listen to how the conversation, the tone, the openness, and really everything is changing right now in culture as it comes to this particular topic.
If there was ever a time where people could step back and say, you know, even some of the people who didn't have any real evidence to point to, but who were making what we would have termed crazy claims, even 2 years ago, but let alone 9-10 years ago. Even if they didn't have real evidence and it was just like a great guess, I don't care. I have to look at them and I have to say, hey, if I shut down X, Y, or Z, and there's a laundry list here, so I'd be listening to them all day. If I shut down this, or that in the past, I can't even say yet that you're right, but now I can't say you're wrong. So my apologies. Seriously. Like, a lot of people out there, especially those of you listening who are extremely, if you view yourself as like a level-headed, kind of let's just see what the facts are here person, like, you gotta give that to people who have been on the train of, like, world's run by satanic pedophiles and like that. Like, well, now you're seeing some of it. Now you're seeing that this, like, supra-government involves people who may or may not be into those kinds of things. Emphasis on may. Emphasis on are, actually.
Now, there's other guys like Nick Kaswani, Blair White, and a ton of other YouTubers going into the details of the files and showing all of what has now come out. I'm not going to go beyond a certain line in this video because some of it is just too dark and too graphic, but I do want to give some sampling of the kind of activity that we're talking about in order to make the point of this video clear.
We have this woman who sends a photo of her baby to Epstein and says, your generosity has no limits, after receiving an unbelievable sum in her bank account and that she's never seen such a number in her bank account. Harvard professor Martin Nowick emailed Ghislaine in 2002 to thank her for her hospitality, and out of nowhere said, I'm so happy I didn't kill anybody, referring to their visit. I'm glad you didn't either, but why was that ever on the table, right?
The first shocking piece of evidence is the name of Epstein's bank account, which goes by the name Baal, the demon that the Bible mentions that demanded human sacrifice. The document states, please wire $11,438 from the above account to Baal, name Wachovia Bank, N.A. A very weird title to call your bank account, but given the fact that these are child monsters and children were sacrificed to this demon, it makes sense. The next document shows that Epstein was receiving torture videos from a redacted contact. Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video. Just in that document alone raises so many concerning questions. Prince Andrew also tortured a victim and proceeded to have the victim unalived right after, with even photo evidence of the night that it happened. The document says, back in the 90s, Ghislaine Maxwell recruited a girl for a modeling career. Instead of modeling, she was sold as a slave for sex and torture. Prince Andrew was an accessory to her death as he her and me to force her murder. That's just absolutely disgusting.
Nicki Minaj posted, just as the Epstein files were being released, with this tweet, your favorite artists have been practicing rituals in a satanic cult where they take babies from other countries and mutilate them and kill them as a form of a blood sacrifice to their god.
I'm sure they used to do that.
You see, when their master is Satan, you must constantly shed blood, however the jig is up. People love to disregard this stuff. I think part of it is it's just too painful to hear. And then, of course, if you're an atheist or agnostic, you don't really have a lens to see this from. If you're a Christian who really knows your Bible, you know this is all biblical, this is all laid out.
Joe Rogan, the most popular podcast in the world, has had on multiple guests over the past several weeks filling out details around this same subject matter.
Yeah, there's all sorts. Did you see the thing in the Epstein files?
Oh yeah, like
they
those
ordered
Epstein files. In fact, I can't believe that. Like everybody just kind of like, okay, and they're moving on with their lives.
Well, I think
in
people are waiting for a condensed version that lays out all the facts. It's the people that are like really interested in reading all the emails.
I think the Luciferians cast a spell on the world. And,
For real?
Oh, absolutely. It's just like how vampires can't go into a house unless they're invited. They tell you, what's going on ahead of time. It's predictive programming. And once you say it out loud and you put it out there and make fun of it and do a little skit like Stephen Colbert did a little skit on his show where, oh, here's a baby. I'm going to take this baby and I'm going to give it to Moloch. And he goes into like a cloudy red, furnace and hands the baby over. And the baby's going to be fine. And they make a joke about it and the audience laughs. Okay, we're all now conditioned to it. And in fact, mundus vult decepi, ergo decepiatur. It's a long-known concept. And so in Latin, mundus vult decepi means the world wants to be deceived. Ergo decepiatur, therefore it is. We want to be deceived. We don't want to believe the horrors that are actually behind the veil.
Well, I think with the Epstein files, people are, because of these emails that have been released, people are just now starting to be aware of the bizarreness of the code and some of the things, like the facts. Like, let's just talk about the sulfuric acid. So this was like right after he was indicted in 2018.
Yeah, I got to get rid of some bodies.
Yeah.
I got
How much
to
did
dissolve up some bodies.
What did it say he ordered? 6 drums of sulfuric acid right away. Are you really worried about your reverse osmosis plant right after you get indicted? I feel like you're going to jail.
It looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck. It's probably a duck.
It's probably a duck. 330 gallons of sulfuric acid.
It says this was the only documented purchase order for it.
Well, I just don't think we really knew until we saw those files come out.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, well, there's no denying it now. My position on it is completely shifted. I thought there's probably some really sick people that have an appetite for that, but I hadn't seen any real evidence for it until these files. And now they're like, oh, this is demonic. This is clearly demonic.
Okay, so thank you for saying that. I'm somebody who was raised a Christian and went to Bible school and that kind of stuff as a kid, and youth groups, and then growing up in Central Coast of California, let's say, veered in different ways. But the experiences that we've encountered over the last half a dozen years, it's hard to come up with a language to express what we're observing in the world other than the language of theology.
There's these references to pizza, a lot of references to pizza that are 100% some kind of a code.
Yeah.
And then it brings you back to Pizzagate.
Yeah.
And which was widely dismissed. Everybody's like, oh, this is a bunch of kooks. Here it is. She said she felt God's presence next to her when she was in bed. She knows that Jesus watches over her and he helped save her life. And then he writes, whoops. And then in response, Jeffrey Epstein says, you should dress up as him when you see her.
It is dark. So we see this darkness. It involves leaders in academia, in science, in industry, in politics.
Another just insane detail that has emerged here is that Lawrence Krauss was trying to get Epstein and Rogan to meet together.
Yeah, I'm in the files for not going, because Jeffrey Epstein was trying to meet with me.
But he writes here in this email, sorry about Rogan so far. He seems more timid than I would have thought. This is from Krauss to Epstein regarding Rogan.
One of my guests was trying to get me to meet him. I was like, are you high? Like, what the are you talking about?
For what reason would you? What would be...
If I was a guy who was like sucking up to the rich and powerful.
And what is so ironic about this to me is that this is the same Lawrence Krauss who, like, fairly recently debated Michael Jones of Inspiring Philosophy. And I kid you not, the title of this debate was Christianity or Secular Ethics. Which is best for society? You cannot make this stuff up.
A lion takes over a rival pride and kills the cubs of the rival he dethroned and impregnates to secure his own bloodline. Does this mean that it's okay for a stepfather to murder his stepson and that kid's mom in your worldview?
Okay, what he says, a lion takes over a pride and kills the other and takes over. Is that okay for in that worldview? Look, okay, you know, I hate to do this. I just want to also mention, I got to hold you guys to about 60 seconds.
The question is not good or bad. The question is what's natural.
There's already hundreds of, probably thousands of victims who tell detailed, horrific, awful stories about ways that they were abused in the context of satanic ritual abuse.
But like a global satanic religion?
Oh yeah, dude. Have you gone down the satanic ritual abuse rabbit hole? It is so dark. So what I'm referring to specifically are survivors giving survivor testimony on video, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. Like, not like one guy came forward and said this, like there are whole support networks for these people. Like there are psychologists that specialize in satanic SRA victims, satanic ritual abuse. And because you have to like treat them in a whole different way than a regular abuse victim, because the level of depravity and disgusting, like literal torture of children, like literal... Think about Jeffrey Epstein's clientele, right? We know that that's real.
You think Bill Clinton wanted to pay to watch it?
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, think this through as a thought experiment.
Okay.
If you have everything in the world and like lust and power, like addictions, anyone who's ever experienced any form of addiction, whether it's like to alcohol or to Adderall or to like porn or heroin, all those addictions kind of play on this sort of like this feeling, this like desire of like, oh, I just felt so good, and like whatever else is wrong in the world, like that's not wrong and that's good. That's and they all kind of play on these same things. And powerful people, power, money, that lust for power, when turned towards the lusting and the greed, the darker side of power and money is inevitably an addiction as well in a lot of ways. And not everyone who's powerful and rich goes down that road, but clearly like the Epstein clients do. Like clearly they want children, like they want to do, and there are snuff films, like people pay on the internet right now to watch murder, like to watch these kinds of things, because there's inherently a devil in everyone. I think the way I see it is that there's an angel and a devil in all of us, and you can feed the good wolf or the bad wolf, and some people get addicted to feeding the bad wolf. And a lot of times in a capitalist society that incentivizes greed and lust, like it incentivizes a lot of our worst behaviors, that means that a lot of the worst people will rise to the top of that system.
I still want you to face this evil head on and not try to obfuscate it, not try to say, oh, it's moral relativism, oh, it's just Epstein's genes that are causing him to do that. Like Krauss said, oh, yeah, under the secular humanist worldview, everything is matter in motion, everything is physics and chemistry, and really it's just our genes telling us what to do. In a sense, everything is deterministic. I guess these people's genes just make them do these types of things to kids. Aw, shucks. I guess no one's moral opinion can be better than anyone else's. I guess it's all just determined. It's all just their genes. Like, if the best we can do is say, I disagree with you, or boo Epstein, I hope we can see the problem with that type of worldview. I hope we can see that evil is real and good is real. And that's actually good news in the sense that we start there and then we go, well, then what is the source of good and what is the source of evil? And we start to go upstream and we realize, wait, the only way that there can be real good and evil is if there is some kind of a moral law that distinguishes between the two. And then that would mean that we have a moral compass or a conscience that allows us to perceive rightness and wrongness in accordance with a standard. Well, where does that law come from, or where does that standard come from? I hope that all of this can be a signpost for you to point you back to the moral law giver who is God. God. Like, what are we comparing all of this Epstein stuff against in order to call it evil? This was the C.S. Lewis question. When we say this world is so cruel, this world is so unjust, this world is so rife with evil, what are we comparing this world against in order to measure that it's broken, in order to measure that it's crooked? Where do we get that idea of a straight line from to call these things crooked? Well, great question, C.S. Lewis. We need that question itself points to transcendence, points to a moral standard, points to a moral law giver, points back to God. I think this is an important moment of awareness of the world exterior, and an important moment to take stock of yourself and of your interior world. If you, for example, just to give one example, consume adult content, are you really aware of the backstory of that actress that you're looking at? Do you know whether or not that is a free person? I know that's a really heavy question to ask, but I think in light of all of this and seeing how broad and widespread these problems are, I think it's a very legitimate question to ask. I want to, first and foremost, I want you guys to see that Christ is the answer, that Christ is the only answer to the problem of evil. I also want you to, at the most practical level possible, be free from the things that so easily ensnare. So if you're a Christian, but you're still under some kind of captivity when it comes to lust, pray, read scripture, call upon the Lord, surround yourself in Christian community, confess your sins one to another to be healed, bring people in your life who know what life is really like for you, allow other people to bear your burdens with you, live in a transparent manner. And if Relay can help you do that based on your circumstances, if you need that community, that accountability, that access to something that is evidence-based, that allows for the supportive community, that allows for accountability, if you have been trying other methods and they haven't been working, I'm recommending you try this to see if it will. Okay? And there's all kinds of, by the way, positive testimonies of other people saying, hey, this helped me, this benefited me, this was the thing that I needed to get over the hump. This was my version of, if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. If your eye causes you to sin, gouge it out. Take an extreme measure. If you're stuck, why not try something like this? So I'm putting this here for you, for your benefit, for free, for 7 days. Use the code WISDOM to see if that is going to be a solution that's going to help you to remove yourself from these horrible talons that are so wide-reaching and so all-encompassing in our culture. So that is that. That is Relay, 7 days free. Use code WISDOM. Now, the other thing I want to say here is whether or not you are actively consuming adult content or are actively in any way participating in anything remotely like what is talked about in the Epstein files, even in the softest, most banal capacity, right? Even if that's not you, if you have no direct access to or connection to this kind of evil. Okay, fair enough. I hope that this is clear for you guys at this point, that this is not just moral relativism. This is not just a few bad people doing a few bad things, but this is actual evil in the context of a spiritual universe where there is a light and a dark side to it. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, the Apostle Paul said, but we wrestle against powers and forces and principalities. Like we're actually living in a spiritual cosmos. We're actually living in a haunted cosmos, if you will. And you better start believing in ghost stories because you're in one, is maybe one way to put it. Being muggleish about this will not help you in your own life. You need to be connected to the light of the world himself, Jesus Christ, and you need to be on the mission of let light shine out of darkness. The problem of evil is not only exterior, it's not only on Epstein Island. The wolf is within every single person. The problem of evil is not only exterior, it is also interior. It is the very thing that Christ came to die for. The way in which Christ solves the problem of evil is through his own sacrifice, so that there would be no need for any other sacrifices. That's why he came to Abraham and said, you don't sacrifice your kid. We're not Canaanites anymore. We don't sacrifice our kids. Rather, Christ, as the hero of the story, lays down his life for the many, like Tony Stark, like Aragorn, like Neo. It is a self-sacrifice, a heroic sacrifice as an act of war in a cosmic spiritual battle to disempower evil forces and bring people out of darkness and into marvelous light. And also, justice will be served on Christianity. Evil will be ultimately and fully dealt with on Christianity. A day is coming when every tear will be wiped away if Christianity is true. A day is coming when justice will be served as a cold dish to all of these evildoers if Christianity is true. It's funny, I've actually been seeing on TikTok people saying, like, can we bring back the God of the Old Testament? Like, can we bring back some justice to be served? And I think that that's a telling signpost as well, that when we see these things, we don't just think, oh yeah, just forgive them. You know what? Just let them all go free. Don't put him in jail. Don't give him any consequences. Just forgive him. Yeah, just forgive him. No, when we face real evil, recognize that crime deserves punishment, and in order for justice to take place, in order for God to be a just judge, there needs to be some recompense. There needs to be some dealing with these horrific, evil, terrible things that have gone on. And for each and every one of us, there's only two people that will be able to pay for or contend with our own contribution to the total picture of the problem of evil. It's either us, it's either you, it's either me, or it's Christ who ultimately can atone for sin. And so evil is a reality, that we all play some role in it, and that ultimately Christ is the light of the world, is the hope of the world, is the solution to the problem of evil, and is the one who will bring justice to all wrongdoers. And at the same time, he offers grace.